So we have a example here of a surf company with a number of reps selling over the course of the first 6 months of the year. We're going to do a number of different formula calculations. They're going to be adding up their numbers, figuring out if they met goal or not, give them bonuses on whatever they had sold, be able to determine the profit that we made off of each of the reps and some averages of that. So this whole thing that we're going to be doing here are going to involve, or is going to involve, very basic calculations. But here's the key. If you understand eventually how these are done, you're not going to have any trouble coming up with your own more advanced ones as we go along here. We're going to be, throughout this video series here, we're going to be doing a lot of different types of calculations, but my point is that if you understand the basics, if you understand the foundation of this, then you will have no trouble making your own calculations out of the blue. All right? Who knows how many different kinds of formulas there are out there that we can actually put together, but there's a lot of them. All right? And they're very simple. This plus this divided by that, combinations of stuff. Take this times that divided by that, all times this divided by this, or times that. It just goes on and on. Your imagination is the limit, really. So let's look at this first one. When we look at column H, okay? Now, column H would be the total that we probably would want to have for each of our reps over the 6-month period. We want to add them up. So usually I would tell you that we would use the auto sum, which is this guy right here, and the auto sum, by clicking it, would then assume that that's what you want to add up. There is going to sum up this range. You hit the enter key, and then you would go ahead and copy that down, as we've learned earlier. That's one thing. That's one way of doing it. Because I want to kind of focus on the non-function formula designs in this particular series, I'm going to go in a different route, okay? But, it's up to you. You might say, Chip, you're an idiot. We're going to do the auto sum, all right? But I want to just do it this other way just to show you that there are other ways of doing it. That's all. So at this point, at H3, anytime that you want to do do a formula in general, you always start with an equal. I don't care if it's a regular formula, if it's one of those function type formulas, like the if and the VLOOKUP and all that. No matter what you do, it always starts with an equal. Okay, that's telling the machine that you're typing in a formula and not some weird label, let's say. Now what we'll do next is we're going to say to ourselves, okay, what do we want in this calculation? Well, we want the January number here. Now, the key to this is that you don't go and type in 3374. You could go and say 3374, hit your plus symbol, type in 3280 plus 2792 and so forth. You could do that. And when you enter it in, it'll come out perfect. The problem, though, is if later on any of these numbers change here, okay, if this number specifically changes, even though you're kind of referring to that number here, the machine or the program doesn't know that this number, this 3374 here, is that one there, okay? So in that case, the better way of doing it would be to refer to the cell address. In this case, it's B3, right? That way, it's adding up whatever's currently in B3, see, as part of the calculation. So if later on B3 changes, well, then the formula will automatically update for you. That's really the major premise of this whole program, all right? So we're going to go ahead and now you could right now on your keyboard type in B3. That's fine too. You're more prone or apt to making errors when you do that, either with your fingernails, your bigger fingers, or whatever the problem is, it's a lot better to click onto it. So what we're going to do is we're just going to kind of point to that cell, click it, and that goes right in there for you. It's perfect. All right. Now we're going to hit our plus, and if you've got a numeric keypad on the far right, use that plus. Don't sit there unless you have to do this, using the combination plus and equal next to your backspace and having to hit that shift key each time to get the plus, because you're going to miss shift, you're going to get the equal, you're going to get to the end, it's going to give you an error when you hit the enter key, and you're going to go, oh, stupid computer. No, it's not stupid computer. I don't mean you're stupid either, but it's just the fact that you're not putting in the right information. The machine, reacts, obviously. So what you're going to do then is, the next is you're going to click onto February's number, right? Hit your plus, all right? And then go to March, plus, and then April, plus, May, plus, June. Now, we don't put any more pluses in there because we have nothing more to add on there, so we're done, all right? We go ahead and hit that enter key, and there we go. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to take that number, copy it all the way down to the total, down to row 8. And as we learned a little bit earlier, that little smart tag that comes up, we can click onto that and tell it to fill without the formatting. That way it doesn't wipe out our formatting down there, right? And there we go. And then the other thing, as we learned earlier too, was with that little green wedgie. That's letting us know that, well, in this case, if we click onto that little smart tag, it's saying that we've got an inconsistent formula. In other words, this formula is a little bit different from the rest of them in the way it's designed. Well, so what? It works. That's what we want. We don't care. So ignore the error, and that goes away. All right. So far, so good. Now, the next thing, the variance. I've had argument about this back and forth, and it's, my students from time to time will say, we do it this way, we don't do it that way, and vice versa. Here's what I'm talking about. I grew up with the fact that if there was a negative variance or a negative difference, that meant that was a good thing. So let me just back up and tell you this. Chip did 18,000 in essence, right? He was slated, or we were planning or hoping that he would do at least 14,000. Well, he exceeded that, right? So the idea used to be where we would take the goal minus the actual. That would end up giving us about, negative 4,000 something here, but it would be a negative. And my thought, and as what I grew up with, was that if that number was negative, that was a good thing. Meaning, if it was like negative 4,100 or whatever it is, that meant that he did $4,100 better than expected. Now, the flip of that would be that if you took the total minus the 14,000, that will leave us with the 4,199 as a positive number, all right? And by seeing that positive number, that meant that Chip did 4,199 better than expected, okay? So it's crazy. I don't know what to tell you. I think I've kind of given in to the dark side, and I've gone along with people telling me that we would just go to here. And by the way, variance means difference, okay? So what we're saying here is, let me just show you, we're going to do an equal. We're going to click onto the total, what Chip actually did, minus what we hoped that he did, the goal, which was 14,000, right? So we put minus, then I3 there. Enter that in, 4,199. So when I look at that, we're supposed to say, yep, he did $4,199 better than expected. Again, I grew up with the negative 4,199, and that was supposed to be good. So again, it's up to you. But either way, that's your variance or your difference. We copy that down, all right? And then once again, smart tag, fill without formatting. And then over here, smart tag, ignore the error. And there we go. Looks good so far. Now this next one, here we're trying to figure out the bonus. Now we've just agreed with all of our reps that regardless of whether or not they made goal, meaning they exceeded this column here with their numbers over here, that's fine. If they did or they didn't, doesn't matter. We're going to give them 5% of their gross. In other words, we're going to give them a nickel on every dollar that they brought in. All right? So if that's the case, if that's how we want to calculate it, then what we're going to do is we're going to go to here. We're going to say equal. All right? We're going to go to the 18,000 for chip, right? Times, and that'll be your asterisk, right? And then on the keyboard, we're going to type in 0.05. Or if you want to, you can type in 5 with a percentage if you want to. Either way, it's the same thing, okay? Enter that in. Then we'll take that and we'll copy that all the way down. And on this one, we just have to do the fill without formatting. There we go. Not bad, huh? Okay. I'm going to give you a little bonus here. Okay, this is something that I normally would be covering in the functions formulas class, which is module 5. Okay, we got all the videos up there that are all your function related, meaning the ones that the formulas that have names in them, right? What I want to do though is I'm going to show you an alternative to this one we just did here. Okay, it involves the if function. Okay, so I'm going to give this one to you. Just as that little added bonus for putting up with over 12 minutes of me talking about this so far. And so here's what we're going to do though. The if function is a logical calculation, logical function, logical calculation, whatever you want to call it. We're going to tell it, we're going to program it, all right, so that it will give them a 5% bonus only if this number here exceeds or is equal to this number here. So as long as Chip does 14,000 or better, as long as Susan does 20,000 or better, or Lurch does 13,000 or better, if they do that, then they will get the 5%. Otherwise, we'll give them, I don't know, we'll give them $50. All right? We'll give them nothing. How about we'll give them nothing, right? Whatever you want to do. So that's how we're going to work this, right? So here's how it works, you guys. You might want to write this one down. You'd put your equal in there, right? And you hit your letter I, okay? And you'll see if pop up there, right? And you're going to do a double click on that, right? Okay. So this whole if function involves 3 pieces of information. The test, testing it in this case, is it greater than or equal to the goal, you know, the total. And if it's true, we're going to give them their 5%. If not, we're going to give them something or nothing. I don't know. We'll figure it at the time, right? So if it's true, do this. If not, do that, right? So the test then would be if this number here, the total, is greater than or equal to. So you just put the greater than symbol, then the equal symbol in there, and you click on this one right there. That is your test. Okay? That's easy. All right? I mean, unless you're just being real stubborn and you hate this stuff, you hate this whole program, right? That's not bad. That one's pretty easy to see. Now you're going to do a comma. All right? Now, if it's true, if this is true, then you want to take this number times 0.05 or 5%, whatever you want to do, comma. All right? If it's false, though, we're going to give them, well, I'll tell you what. I normally say give them 0. We'll go ahead and we'll give them, I don't know, $25. just for breathing, okay? So that's it. So then we'll close that up, all right? So again, let's review this. If H3, if CHIP's total is over, greater than or equal to the 14,000, right? If that's true, take that number times a nickel, times 5%. Otherwise, just put 25 in, meaning 25 bucks. All right? So we do all that, enter that in. So CHIP exceeded, so we got the 5%. We copy that all the way down to here. And there we go. All right? So you can see on some of these, we got that. Now, of course, you got that little smart tag. We'll fix that real quick. But there it goes. So you can see on Susan and on Missy, you much. Get it? Because of those two not having met the goal, they just got their $25. So pretty nice. Now, our profit as a company, I want to look at this and say to myself, what's the what has CHIP done for us as far as profit goes? How much have we made off of CHIP, let's say, in profit, right? And let me just back up and say this, and I didn't say this in the beginning, but the whole idea of doing formulas in many cases is to get more information out of the worksheet than what you originally have with just the data that's in there, all right? I mean, as you can see here, we're getting a ton of good information here just because we're putting in the calculations and the fact that if we've got the goal in there, golly gee, we can do a variance. We can see if they met goal. Wow, that's a whole new piece of information. Because we've got the cost of goods, in other words, the cost of how much the product cost us as a company that CHIP was selling. Having that then is going to allow us ultimately to figure out what our profit is off of CHIP and Susan and Lurch and everybody else. So it really, I mean, this is powerful stuff here. Now, with your profit, our profit or our gross margin, however you want to look at it, is going to be equal to, so we're going to say equal, to taking what CHIP brought in, right, minus what the cost of the goods were that he sold, right, minus what we had to shell out to him. Now, we're going to assume, just, when it comes to, paying people and all that, obviously CHIP can't live on $910, over 6 months, all right? So you can think of these as being in the thousands if you wanted to, or in the, these numbers or something like that. So that makes you look at this a little bit differently. But the idea is that I'm trying to get a sense of the whole profitability of everything here, right? So we put those three in there, enter that in, and there's our profit, okay? After it's all said and done, we're going to copy that all the way down, smart tag, without formatting. And then this last one, we just want to know if CHIP brought in $32.89 in profit over 6 months, what is that on a monthly basis? Well, it's a simple average by taking, so we do our equal, by taking the profit divided by the 6 months or the number 6. See? Enter that in. There we go. We can go ahead and take that, copy that all the way down, and then smart tag that without the formatting. And there we go. Looks good. So that's it. What I also did here, and you can learn more about charting and graphing in the Module 9 video series, but I like to kind of demonstrate, when you're doing your own worksheets, that it's not going to hurt to throw in a graph. And a graph is a great way of really getting people to understand your numbers, because just having the numbers out here, for some people, it's hard for them to, quantify the numbers and compare the numbers in their head to figure out which is better, which is worse, and all that stuff. What I did here, amongst others, especially with this graph right here, is I'm showing each of the sales reps as far as what they brought in. That's the blue. That's their revenue. Their goal, which was this one right here, and then I also showed them the profit. See, so I can show, who did the best in profit, who did the worst, who did the best in, in revenue, right? And you can see that with the blue bar. It's a simple graph, but it kind of complements, what you have up here. Okay, so if you're interested in graphs and how to put these together, because there's a lot of stuff you can do with this, that'll be module 9 of Excel, that video series. Okay, all right. Well, that's all I have for you on this one. So hopefully this helps you, and we'll be doing more videos here. But thanks a lot. Appreciate it.